You know him, you love him. 89 Stanley Cup champion, one of the all-time greats, third or fourth or fifth time on this program already, and we've only been around 6 weeks. Colin Patterson from the Flames Alumni joins us. Patter, how are you?
Excellent, Rob.
Why aren't you doing something? Why aren't you volunteering as we speak? Shouldn't you be out saving cats or putting out burning buildings? Like, what was your weekend? Like, you were supposed to be here. Not supposed to be. I asked if you could come on Friday. You could not. What were you doing Friday?
Friday, we had the Breaking Free Foundation, the third annual Fired Up for Mental Health wood sale.
Okay.
And that was at Bracco
Yep.
Furniture. So Smoking Good Wood, Len at Smoking Good Wood sells bundles of wood for $10, and the Breaking Free Foundation, which helps people deal with trauma, gets $5 of that. So we're doing that on Friday. Thursday night, we had an event, too, for Breaking Free down at the Trop.
Yep.
It was great. Theo was there. Lanny was there. And then Saturday, we were back at it with the wood sale. And sure enough, Tim Hunter and Dana Merzen show up. So, our alumni is so good. There's so many events going on right now, and the guys are just very generous with their time.
Well, there are. We should also point out, speaking of very generous, the Flames Foundation with a significant contribution to the community, $400,000 in pump tracks, and that saw the alumni out. I saw Reggie was out and some other players. Tim Hunter, I think, was part of that too.
And Dana was part of that.
Dana
too,
was
as
that,
well.
yeah.
We had our Pump It Up guys.
Have you been to a pump track yet?
No, you know what? I haven't. Probably with the new knee, probably should stay away from the pump track for life. I'm sure.
Yeah, but I think you should go watch it.
Oh, I think it would be great to watch. Yeah.
I was shocked. I heard about them, and as an advocate, as we both are, about having, recreational facilities for kids in our community, I thought, well, yeah, sure, okay, this is cool. And then I went and saw it. Holy crap. Those things are incredible, and they're busy, and they are busy, right? Like, it's awesome.
And that's the great part of it, right? Dana and Tim were just talking about it, how, they had the one girl come out and do a little exhibition, and she went around the top and then down and up and down and up and never pedaled.
Yeah,
which was crazy. Yeah,
it's insane. But you have to kind of follow the lines. Like, you can't go the wrong way. Like, it's the wrong place to go against the grain.
Which has been my style.
Yes. Get out there and pedal the wrong way. We are 10 days away from the Masters golf tournament?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, you confirmed that.
The days, too.
Yeah. And that's obviously a significant moment on the calendar for the alumni.
Absolutely. Big moment. It's our Masters golf tournament, and we raise money for CP kids and families for their adapted bike program. And it's a fantastic program we've talked about before. And it's just it's a special time for our alumni. It's our longest running event. I think we're at 26 years now.
Wow. Yeah. And are we expecting a good alumni turnout?
Always. Yeah, we always do. And the team rallies, and, if whatever guys are asked to come play, they come and play, and they support it.
Yeah. We should also point out, because you won't and I will, that a week ago yesterday, the alumni hosted and paid for a superheroes banquet for the first time. So we were able to bring all the kids together from the 3 superheroes teams, which the alumni have adopted.
Yeah, and it was, you were there.
Yeah.
Both were there, and it was a very special day to see the kids in an environment like that, which they've never been part of, part of a banquet, part of the awards, and part of speeches. And I was really impressed with, we had at the rooftop.
Yep.
And, I thought, the kids are running around, what's going to happen? And then I thought about it for a bit, and I go, boy, that place was designed for stampede parties. I go, this will be nothing for them. But the kids were great. They had a great time, very well-behaved, especially when their peers were up on stage talking.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with the speeches that the kids did, and it was just a fun atmosphere. It's a great way to wrap up the season.
Well, they continue to show us the way, don't they? In so many, we're the ones that put parameters on them, and we go, well, can they or will they? And this was just another example. To your point, like, the speeches were absolutely incredible, right? And the other kids took it all in. It was a great family event. The nice thing about the superheroes is now we're transitioning them into giving back to the community. So they were with me on on Saturday at Pet Value in Deer Run, and we were collecting donations of pet food and things for parachutes for pets. And now the kids are like you guys did, right? Yeah. Like, Special Olympics is coming up on their golf tournament. You guys were early adapters. Not the Alumni, the Flames were early adapters of Special Olympics here in Calgary. That's what hockey teams do, and they're now beginning to have that identity too, which they're getting the whole experience.
Yeah, which is great. And, and the camaraderie that they have formed, amongst the kids and the parents. And, it's like people ask, what's it like? I go, it's like any hockey team I've ever played with or coached or, you get serious kids, you get funny kids, you get, kids who, want to work hard, kids who just go, you know what, it's great, kids who love the sport, kids who are just enjoying it. And that's the beauty of it. It is like any other team that you've ever been on. And you know what? The kids find friends within there.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump in. Edmonton eliminated last night. Toronto eliminated on Friday. Are you all right? You okay? Are you having withdrawal? Is this somehow cataclysmic for you?
Well, surprisingly, I had a birthday on May 11th, and part of my birthday wish was that both those teams would lose out, and surprisingly, they did. It was great. I enjoy watching Toronto, in the playoffs especially, and because you just get jammed down your throat with every radio station, TV station, everything's Toronto.
But
Toronto,
you're an
Toronto.
Ontario kid.
Yeah, but I go, there's only so much you can take, and the beauty of it is they're out, but they won't make any changes. They'll talk a big game, but that's part of the process is now we got to the second round. Well, it's taking you 9 years in this plan to get there. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna get to the second round, and to me, I go, they lack the grit that you need to win, and. You know what? The guys who have the grit were sitting up in the press box. I go, why wouldn't you put Wayne Simmons in? Tell me that, and then maybe you've got an answer for me. But I can't, I look at, the guys with grit on that team, and they're very, that you need to sort of extend and play in the playoffs, and that's what they're missing.
But they had that against Tampa, right? Because that's Tampa's thing. Tampa will out-grit you, and they took a victory lap after that 6-game series and said, see, look what we did, right?
And that's Toronto, right? They were planning the parade. Everything was great. They were going to win the cup. And, but you look at they were lucky to get out of the Tampa series. Tampa made some, miscues at times when they were up. And, and that changes the dynamics and the momentum. But, yeah, I was sort of pleased that they did lose.
I didn't have a horse in the race. If they go. But to me, it was always going to be, well, if they go, then I can watch Gio and TJ Brody because I like those guys, right?
That part was
there's
sad
that connection.
Part.
Yeah, there's that connection. And then last night, it was the Oilers who really shocked the hell out of me. I thought they were going to come back on home ice, and the way that game started, I just thought, okay, last team with the puck's going to win. They couldn't outscore them, and Aiden Hill. I don't know, man. And we can get into this. Aiden Hill makes whatever it was, like 38 saves on 40 shots. We've everybody that comes on says, well, you can't win in this league without a goalie. You can't win in the league. What's he, number 4 there? Like, is he number 4 on the depth chart?
But you can't win without a hot goalie, right?
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
And no matter who it is, and when you think back of Vegas's first year, they must have gone through 5 goaltenders.
Yep.
But every one of those goaltenders went on a run.
Yeah.
Because one guy would play great, and then he'd get injured, and then they'd go, we got to get this other guy. And I think they did go through 5 goalies, and every one of them played spectacular. And then obviously Fleury, who has, so much, experience, and, he just brings calmness to a team. He takes them all the way to the finals.
Yeah.
That's what a hot goalie can do. And, there aren't too many teams that win that don't have a hot goalie.
Right.
You might not have the best goalie in the league, but he's the hottest at that time. And when you look at it, you go, boy, Seattle, I go, Grubauer, was he hot in the first round, and he was hot in the second? He's hot and cold a bit now in the second. But, if you can catch him on that right game, which, they're hoping for tonight, that sort of says it. Ottinger, he's a great goalie. And, he's had a few tough games, but you know what? You get him hot, and that's going to be it. Bobrovsky, who's been, probably the best goalie in the East.
But didn't start.
Yeah.
but didn't start,
Yeah.
and then found the net again, right?
Yeah.
It is absolutely crazy.
And it's neat to see those stories too. I like those.
I do too. I just don't think we take that into consideration enough. That we get too locked in, and you must have this, and you must have that. Same thing with defensemen, right? You got to have this type of defenseman, you got to have that type of defenseman. You got to have defensemen that are gamers.
Yeah, gamers and have grit, and every guy, that's what you need.
Yeah,
that's what drives your whole playoffs is the gamers, the guys with grit, the guys that and you need the unexpected scorers.
right.
It can't be the same guys every time. When you sit there and you watch Edmonton, and I go, they got the two best players in the world, and you're watching their power play. You go, well, they're doing the same thing every time. On how they get into the zone. Maybe you should think about, if you're the penalty killer, well, boy, why don't I just follow McDavid to start with, and then I'll go right at Draisaitl, But obviously their power play was spectacular. I mean, they were 47%.
Record-breaking.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, and I mean, there was probably a couple plays last night, and I'm anything,
Yep. AB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a high stick near the end, and it wasn't an intentional one, but he did catch Ekholm with a high stick, and the guy blood's pouring out, and they don't call that, but you tap somebody on the stick, and and it breaks, or a piece of tape falls off, and you've got a 2-minute penalty. That part, you sort of struggle with, and I struggle with, what's a penalty now and what isn't, and then the goals that are called back and how long it takes, and yeah.
Well, and there's lots of ways of this onion to be peeled. Let me take you back to the first thing that jumped out at me. It was seconds. It was seconds that game was over. Here's why the Oilers season was a failure. Failure. When you were playing in the 80s in the height of the Battle of Alberta, it was often said that your team was designed to beat them. Yeah. It was really you were chasing them to beat them. If you lost to the Oilers in the playoffs, was it a failure? Or did you lose to the team you were? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, sometimes you look at it, and every time we lost, in the playoffs, I always looked at it as a failure because you always wanted to win.
Yeah.
As you go back over the years, you look, you go, yeah, there were probably years we should have beat them and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that is a failure. But you learn from your failures. It's not necessarily hey, it's all bad. No, you got to look at the good things that you've done, and boy, how do we get to the next level? Back in those days, in our days, where if we want to get out of our division, you had to beat Winnipeg and the Oilers.
Yep.
And if you focus too much on the Oilers, Winnipeg would beat you. So you sort of had to play that. But the whole end goal was you got to compete against the Oilers to get out. They were the best team in the league, and
Oh, I'm not suggesting for a second that anybody should whistle a happy tune and say, okay, we'll get them next year.
No.
But
that's
this conversation sometimes doesn't allow for what has Vegas done here?
Yeah. I mean, and there's growth on both sides, right? I thought Vegas is coming together at the right time.
Yeah.
Like during the year, they had lots of injuries, but those things are starting to piece together.
Yeah.
And, I think Mark Stone is a big part of that team, obviously, not only as a player, but a leader. And if you look at the first round when he first came back, I mean, it's tough to come back. And, even during the regular season, if you've missed a large portion of it, let alone come back in the playoffs. And he was struggling for his wind and everything else, but you could see the team getting better and better. And when I watched the Edmonton series, I was shocked that they won. I truly was, but they started to play better as a team. That third period last night, I was going, I'll get up and go get a drink. And I go, I couldn't because there's no whistles.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think there's probably like 5 or 6 whistles in that whole period.
They played it fast.
Yeah, it was fast. It was end to end. It was back and forth. And, there's lots of chances for Edmonton to score, and they didn't. And that's where, you need that production from the second and third tier guys. And, and I look at that Warren Fogle. I thought he played really well.
Mm-hmm.
And you need more guys like that to chip in. And,
yeah.
And some of but you look at that, you go, that's real growth for Edmonton. Like, to get where they were, I thought.
I'd run that team back.
Oh, man. And I go, Skinner, I thought, played really well.
He's a rookie.
I mean, hey, did he let 2 goals in last night that,
sure,
off the first 2 shots? But so did Hill.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. I look at it, and again, I have no interest in cheering for a Canadian team because they're a Canadian team.
No.
I have none. Like, this is my club team allegiances. My national allegiances at the Olympics or the World Hockey Championships. I don't need a Canadian. Having said that, I glad it was them and not me. That 8:00 start was something else.
Yeah, and I go, and there's another thing about Toronto. Well, Toronto loses out, so now the East isn't, Eastern Canada isn't interested in hockey anymore.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they have moved that game to, 6:00 our time?
Because you want Stephen A. Smith to talk about hockey.
Yeah.
You chased ESPN. You got ESPN. You told us how great it was to have ESPN. And guess what? ESPN screwed you.
Yeah.
Because they made you stay on until after a blowout baseball game, which is their bigger property.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I just look at that and I go, that's another reason that I'm sort of happy Toronto's out.
It's somebody else, and I kind of reposted it. We're all mad at the new teams and the new southern markets and all, or whatever we're mad at. And then, they hire smart guys, they get things done, and now we're mad at them for being successful. You could have this Vegas-Seattle matchup, which is right.
Yeah, I think it's great. What it shows to me is that where's the scouting for all the other teams? Like, you can tell me, oh, we didn't get a first-round pick. Well, how many first-round picks are, playing on your team now? And how many guys are free agents? What percentage are? Probably, on average, it's like 10 to 15% in the league are guys that never got drafted. And then you look at, well, how many guys are second round? How many guys are third, fourth, fifth, and above? And if you don't have first round picks, okay. So unless you're in the top 4 or 5, you're not really guaranteed you're going to get a great player who's going to step right in.
But I'm not sure how much of that helps Seattle. Matty Benier is okay, great pick.
Matty Benier's
but they're not an old enough franchise to have second and third round picks play yet.
Yeah,
right.
But I go, it's the guys they've picked up.
Yeah,
and I mean, and everybody goes, well, no, they got preferential treatment on the expansion draft. I go, those were all guys that other teams, third or fourth line guys. It wasn't like they're leaving a superstar open. Those are all third and fourth line guys. Or, and I look at, Vegas when they did it. Well, they did a smart move. They got a real good solid core. And I think Vegas sort of, to me, got away from it and went after the shiny objects with some, big name signings. But I look at Seattle and I go, they stuck with it. They've got, do they have superstars? No, but they've got very good players who play a great team game.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Cartier. Yep. I go, where is he? How did people miss him?
Yep. Oh, no, exactly.
He was a free agent. He was never drafted.
Yep.
But
they also were smart. They got the Yan Gordys of the world.
You got guys who know how to win and, competitors. And that's what you want. Guys who are competitors and gamers.
Yeah. And then on the other side, I mean, for me, I don't know how you feel, but I watched Matthew Tkachuk this spring, and this Matthew Tkachuk could have beaten the Oilers last year.
Yeah.
If he was that guy last year, they would have won that series.
Yeah.
But and that's evolution, I suppose. Or, I mean, it's a pretty dramatic evolution, but that kid's, he's third. He was one of the 3 for the Hart, which we know McDavid's going to win, so it's the wrong year. But he is legitimately one of the top players in the league now.
He is. And, and he's worked hard. I watch him out there, and he works hard. I mean, Sam Bennett, another one. I go, he's found, like, they both sort of come together on that team, and they're leading that team.
Yeah. Oh, they are. They're playing on the same line, right?
And I go, if Barkov gets into a flow, and because he's a great player.
He is.
And I think he's probably, they probably assigned him to do something more than just play and score. There's a bunch of checking and stuff that he's doing. But if he can get into a flow, I think that's going to be a great series.
I am really fascinated by it because I think you have a team that was written off that now has that team of destiny, whatever we're going to call it. But the Carolina Hurricanes are killers. They're just killers. Yeah. They're beatable, but they're killers. Like, they just put teams down.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have, like, when I look at the two teams, there are a lot of similarities in there. But I think, Sebastian Aho is he's playing that next level of hockey.
He is.
Where Barkov, that's what he needs to step up to.
Yeah.
And if he can do that, it's going to be a great series. And the goaltending is great.
Well, it's scary to think of the injuries that Carolina has, the guys they don't have.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's why, depth is such a important thing and big thing in, especially a playoff run.
Yeah.
Not just your organization, but when you come down to a playoff run, you need that depth because guys, there's injuries, there's suspensions, and sometimes you get guys who, just fall out of the flow and, it's not, it just happens. But you need guys to step in and make an impact. And they've had that. Wow.
So give me the professional inside expertise on what the game has become. You talked about it earlier. What's a penalty?
Yeah.
Video reviews. Last week there was a draft lottery and people were screaming about that. You got this lone Sunday game at 10 o'clock Eastern. It just seems like now a lot of this stuff is explainable if you want to listen.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like this league at times gets in its own way by creating these scenarios which frustrate people and cause them to get almost distracted. Like we are living in a golden age of skilled hockey players, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. There's more skill now than there ever has been in the game.
Right.
But, I think they're trying to do the right thing, but you can't please everybody. And the traditional hockey person probably is the people you're offending the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe the new fans, and I don't know enough about new fans coming in, if they're enjoying it or not, but I know you need to appeal to that, the younger generation who are stuck on computer games to get out to the games too.
See, I'm glad you went there. Are new fans an issue right now?
Well, I don't know if they're an issue, but they're going to be an issue in another 10 or 15 years when people like maybe my age or my generation are going to go, I can't go to the games anymore and watch them on TV, but I'll probably be asleep by 10 o'clock instead of 10:15.
Right. No, it's future fan development.
Yeah.
Right. I get that part. I sometimes I wonder if we're focused on the right, like who should you be focused on? Getting the new fans or the fans you have, or just being the most approachable sport.
Yeah, and I think being the most approachable sport is a great thing to be, because some of the other top end sports are probably not that approachable. But when you start taking that away, and guys aren't out in the public, guys aren't out signing autographs, you can't get to them after the game, that takes that away. And in his sports rank, I don't know where hockey is anymore. Obviously, you got football, basketball, baseball.
Well, certainly in this continent, I would say the NFL is number one by a mile, and then everybody's fighting below, right?
Yeah, and they do a great job. And when you watch an NFL game, you cannot go a game without seeing what they do in the community and how they portray
that is a very good point that the NFL does. Now, it's an interesting point. I've often thought that that's been the result of things like, Ray Lewis or, some of the other issues that they've had. They've reacted to it. Yeah.
But I go, it's a great marketing tool that, you show, hey, we're part of the community. And hockey is, the hockey players do a great job. Not talking about our alumni, but we're talking about the NHL.
In general,
the NHL players. But you rarely see anything on that in the promotion of it.
But I would push back on this, that I think the challenge is that we live in a media that's driven by numbers.
Yeah.
So what are the numbers? Where are the eyeballs? Well, we can get just as many eyeballs without having to, do pre-production and go out into the field and cover something by having two guys yell at me. Right. And it's the path of least resistance. What do people want to know today? They want to know why Kyle Dubas still has a job and if Connor McDavid is going to demand a trade. Yeah. I'm just making those up.
No,
but what they're not talking about is what either organization did in the community. What they're not talking about is what anybody else did in the community, because that's not what fans want. The fans want the controversy. Yeah. So they sell the blood. Right. That's what they sell. They sell the blood. But I miss the storytelling because I felt like I grew up on a sport that when I tuned in on Saturday, I got told the stories.
Yeah.
I got the intermission package on a player, and I learned about them.
And that's what I think the game misses. You know, I don't want somebody talking to the coach in the game. As a coach during the game, what are they going to tell you? Oh yeah, we're going to change our whole power play. We're going to shift it down. We're going to have the low guy with the puck. You know, they're not going to tell you anything.
No.
You know, I'd rather spend that time and as you said, you know, learn about the players.
Right.
You know, I don't need them focusing on their parents in the crowd. You sort of get tired of that. But
That's low-hanging fruit.
yeah. And to me, it's easy fruit. But
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Colin, if that's you and me in our age, or if that's what the new, you know, as we talk about future fan development, what do they want, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I go back to your line about, which is a commonly recited, is what's a penalty? Was it the same when you played? I mean, because there wasn't the reviews, there wasn't the replay, there wasn't the. It almost felt like you weren't allowed to talk about that, or we didn't talk about that. We just talked about the story and what happened on the ice stayed on the ice. In a way.
And there was the odd time where there was probably a missed penalty, but you know, back when
I should say that, fully recognizing the Mike Bullard and the Oilers. Okay. Well, there was that.
but you know what? There were, you know, back in the day, I always say, you know, I played when there was, you know, more players on the ice than refs.
Yeah.
You know, we only had the one referee and you had the two linesmen.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of stuff that happened, and, you know, a lot where you knew you could get away with some, and probably, you know, they didn't call it as tight, you know, the hooking, the holding, you know, probably a little bit of tripping in there, you know, a little bit of rough stuff they probably let go, where now they're right on that. You know, you think about, like, just go back to the stick thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you tap somebody's stick, you get a bad stick and the stick shatters, there's a penalty.
Yeah.
I'd send my worst player out with a broken stick. Just hold it, you know, hold it here, and if somebody hits it, drop it and go, just point it. And if somebody ever raises their stick, you know, close to you, just fall down. And I don't like that. You know, I don't like the way that, you know, guys are falling down. It's almost like soccer, you know, and so that part needs to be
See, I think
controlled.
part of that's coaching.
Yeah,
I think part of that is, you know, go out there and draw that penalty.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're watching the video the next day, and geez, you know, if you snap your head back in that particular situation, they have to make a call. Right?
And as I said last night, you know, I look at Ekholm get, you know, high stick. I go, you know, that to me, that was pretty obvious, and there's no penalty on it.
Yeah.
But as I said, they just got to be consistent with what they call, and that's been throughout the game forever.
It has been.
You know, be consistent, and we're good.
Yeah.
But when it changes within the game, that's when it's tough to play, because you don't know what you can and cannot do.
I just find that so much of this feels predictable now. That, you know, when we start the playoffs, the first round's the greatest rounds of hockey we've ever seen, right? Like, it's every night, it's multiple games. You never know. And man, it can't get any better than this. And when we get into the second round, it doesn't get any better than this. The guys are tired. It's starting to catch up to them. Mistakes are made. But then we divert always into the same conversation about officiating. Oh, it's the worst officiating in pro sports. Well, go talk to the NBA fan, right? Go talk to
any sport fan. You know, it all depends who wins.
Always.
You know, and people in Toronto are, you know, they're going to complain about whatever play was missed on them. Where, you know, if you were asking me about Toronto, I go, Toronto probably gets the benefit of a lot of calls. But, you know, if you're a Toronto fan, you're going, oh, we get robbed. And that's the way the game goes.
That's, I mean, you know, being in Joe Louis Arena at the height of the Detroit teams and listening to the fans complain about all the calls that the Detroit Red Wings don't get, yet I don't ever remember a game in which the Flames went in there that they didn't get put on a 5-on-3 or whatever. I mean, it's every team thinks that they're the victim, right? Yeah. Every team thinks that they're a martyr in this, and it's just, is it out of control, or is it just part and parcel with the game? I mean, because it feels like we're going to talk about this 12 months from now.
Oh yeah, I think it's part and parcel of the game. It's a fast game, it's a tough game, and then you add in, you know, the video replay, which takes more time. To cover, and you know, and then you get your TV timeouts, which, you know, lengthens the game, and then what you know, you end up seeing the same players all the time because they get enough time to rest between those things. So the slugs like myself wouldn't get out, you know.
Yeah, it would be a little hard on the time tougher, on ice. Yeah,
and then you get out for, you know, and they're everybody's, you know, timing everybody, and you know, if you're only on the ice for 3 or 4 minutes or 5-7 minutes a game, it's a tough game to play.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the more you play, and And the more flow you can get in, the easier the game is for anybody, let alone, you know, the superstar guys, which now, you know, and that's what everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see the best players out there. So
Sure.
when you get the TV timeouts, you get, you know, a timeout. And then you get all these, you know, replays of
Reviews
and, you know, of whether it's a goal or a penalty, you know, that gives those guys time to rest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the cat's out of the bag. They'll never go back and take it all out. I know why they did it. They're searching for perfection. I'm not sure perfection's the right thing, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if you can ever get perfection. You know, even that, you know, the goal that Riley scores.
Yeah.
You know, it goes in, but everybody's, you know, all over that. But that wasn't the call. It was the whistle.
The intent to blow.
The intent to blow the whistle, and you go, well, you know, the intent, and you go, you can see that in a way. You know, you're putting your whistle up to blow it dead, and then it goes in. Yeah, that is the call. You know, and it's the right call. It's like the suspension to Nurse. You know, and I go, oh, is that really? You know, but that's the rule. But if that's the rule, then enforce it all the way through the year. Don't let anybody off it. You know, if that's
Which one was
truly
that?
the
Was
rule,
that
was
the
the instigator with 5 minutes left?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it is, then call it that.
Do you
way.
remember? You know the history on that? You know why that rule's in?
Oh, I'm sure it's because of
It was
something the Flames.
Yep. Yeah, it was Flames in Nashville.
Yeah.
And Daryl sent a message, and it was the end of the 04 season, in the regular season. Daryl sent a message. And the next year when, we didn't play hockey. But in 2 years we came back, and then they said, okay, if you do that, coach gets fined $10,000, players get suspended, instigator in the final 5 minutes. Yeah. Do you know who the first player and coach were to, and do you know who
No,
first?
I don't. I'm
Wayne
looking forward to
Gretzky, the coach of the Arizona Coyotes, Shane Doan.
Oh, nice.
And the league rescinded both.
Yeah.
That wasn't the intent, guys. That's not what we meant. Sorry,
Yeah.
we didn't mean that. Now, many people have been subsequently, you know, fined and suspended and things like that, but it just seems a little silly sometimes. It seems like we have rules in the rule book, and then we invent more rules to put in the rule book.
Yeah. And to me, that's a pretty simple one. If the guy is the instigator, and there's under 5 minutes left, that's the rule.
Yeah.
But you know, if you're going to let people off during the regular season,
Yep.
we'll say, well, you know that, you know. But if the referee on the ice calls an instigator, then you got to go with it.
You know what the unintended consequence of this whole thing is? We are making it even worse for kids.
Oh.
Because every dad that watches an NHL game now berates, or mom or uncle or aunt or whoever, berates a kid who's reffing a game because they're so used to watching games plays being reviewed and the whole 9 yards, and yet we're asking kids to start officiating and make instant calls on the ice. And then you get not everybody, you get one or two yahoos that make their lives miserable, or the one or two coaches that make their lives miserable because they think that everybody has access to instant replay on every call. We don't, right?
And it's a fast game. It's a tough game to ref.
Yeah.
You know, I saw an article about that Philadelphia Little League where they
New Jersey.
It was in New Jersey. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, where they say, you know, if you're going to yell at the ump, you're going to ump. I've been a big proponent for that in, you know, minor hockey. If you're going to yell at the ref, they should go, hey, we're not going to kick you out. You're going to actually ref the next game.
So if you are thrown out of a New Jersey Little League game and thrown out of it before you can come back, you have to umpire 3 games.
Yeah.
One of bear with me because this isn't going to make a lot of sense when it starts. One of the really cool things that the Alumni has done in the last couple of years is partner with Hockey Calgary in a spring hockey league for kids that have been part of the First Step program, right? Yeah. So kids who've never played hockey go through the First Step program, then can play in the Junior Flames program.
Yeah, right there.
There's the puck. And to me, the best part about it is there's a pathway to participation, right? So the parents get to find out what it's like to be a hockey parent. The kids find out what a practice is like. And then and last year, I think it was high 90s in terms of, you know, took the program and then went on to play hockey. Yeah. But it's a needed program. I would like to see the next edition of that is that the parents get taught what it means to be an official and then come out and volunteer and help you guys official your scrimmages. Yeah. Because that would be the next... That's the next part of this, right? Because there isn't an 11 or... It's amazing to me when I go to rinks, and you've seen the same thing, how coaches and parents will beat up on an 11 and 12-year-old and somehow think this is okay.
Yeah.
Right? But so anyway, you can bring that up at the next alumni meeting.
Yeah, thanks for
No,
doing
no.
that.
Hey, listen, I'm a giver.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
You're an idea guy.
I'm an idea guy. So you parents who are just learning about hockey, come down and become officials, right?
And can't skate. Yeah.
No, I mean, hey, listen, nobody said it was a perfect idea. Speaking of which, since last we spoke, a lot has transpired. Let's start with the building.
Yeah.
Because I want to say it was early on in the tenure of, at the time, the new president, Jamie McCowan, that you and Perry and Jamie joined me downstairs in the Hot Stove Lounge, and we spent an hour talking about a new building. Yeah. That was a decade ago.
Yeah, it was only a decade ago.
Was it like 10 years ago? Yeah. Where are you at? Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you...
You know what? I had this guy that I worked for who said, I'm from Missouri. Show me. Because Missouri's the show me state.
Absolutely.
And that's where I'm sitting right now. I'm from Missouri, show me. And, there's tons of things you can talk about on both sides of the, whether it's good for the city, whether, they should be putting provincial money in. And I go, how much debt does our, Canadian government have with 2.6 trillion or whatever? I go, 300 million. That's going to help this community, get this job done. I think it's a great idea. I go, if you take Calgary out of, the Flames out of Calgary, you're a bigger Regina, right? Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with
no,
Regina.
not the Regina, but how many corporations are moving there? How many people are moving there?
No, you become a very small...
Yeah. You need, what people don't realize, you need things to draw companies in, to draw people in. So to me, yes, does it cost the province money? Yeah, it does. And I truly don't know the underlines of, where all the tax money's coming from. If it's coming from people that are just going to the building, if it's coming from the events that are coming in, that remains to be seen. And, now with the election coming up, if it truly is going to go through or not, I don't know. That's why I say, I'm from Missouri, show me.
I love the vision of this one. Of all the processes so far, this is probably the one that the vision has been the easiest for me to grasp, because it'll tie in that whole area. Somebody said to me today, well, the council voted unanimously for it. Yeah, they did, because now, the Bell Center, which has been losing money, and the platform and the library, they'll all be part of something, right? Yeah. So that's going to not save their bacon, but it's actually going to improve that area. Yeah. So I'm all good on that, but I'm a little bit like you. I'm like, where's the salesman in this right now? Shouldn't somebody be out telling us this is a good idea? Like, it just seems like we had the announcement and then it all went quiet, and that worries me, Colin.
It does. As I said, we'll see what happens.
Okay. Have you been interviewed for the Flames general manager's job?
No, I have not.
Okay,
No.
That's our clip for today. We can confirm that Colin Patterson has not been interviewed yet.
I'd like them to hire me as coach now, and then let me go before the first game of the season and then pay me out. That would be good. That would be a good thing.
Okay. I see. I get it. I understand. All right. Yes. Do you have a horse in the race? Do you have a favorite? Do you have an idea? Do you have a concept?
I think they're doing their search now.
They are, yeah.
And I think a lot of people go, let's get the search done. I think that's the thing that I'm hearing out in the public is, when are they going to come out? When are they going to come out? When are they going to come out? And and I know doing a proper search is tough, but. You
would have done that in your professional life,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you do that, and you go through and you go, here's people we have within our company. Obviously, for the Flames, here's people we have within the Flames, and here's outside people. The outside people are easy to weed down to get to a certain number, and then you bring them in, and you interview everybody, and not everybody, but you interview those finalists. Whether it's 3 or 4 or 5, I'm not sure what their limit is, but you should be able to narrow it down to probably 4 people and do a thorough job. And I don't know if they're doing it by committee. I don't know if it's just Don Maloney and then his recommendation. That part I don't know. I'm not privy to all that. But I think there's great options. And obviously you want what's best for the Flames. That's what you want. And you want people who believe in Calgary, who understand Calgary, because you have to find people, you have to bring people here.
Right.
And you've got to sell the city. And if, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Do you need to have a connection? Brad Treliving didn't have a connection, but he also inherited some connectors. There's always seems to have been somebody that's able to bring the history forward, right?
Yeah, and you need that. You definitely need that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Craig Conroy's name is out there. Sean Burke's name is out there. Ray Whitney, Mark Bergevin, Mark Hunter. There's lots of names, but, they're all intriguing candidates on their own. I've said right from the get-go, I have no problem. I think they should do a search, but I think, the search should be to say that Craig Conroy isn't the guy, because it sure seems like it. And I would also say Brad Pascal deserves that opportunity too, because there's two guys that have. If you don't have that, then what's that AGM role for, right?
And yeah, to me, like any business, you've got to develop people from within. Yeah. And if you aren't doing that, then there's probably something deeper within your organization.
And then the coach. And then the coach.
Then
the coach. Yeah, were you surprised by that? That they moved on from Daryl?
No.
Okay.
There's just too much out there and too many things, rumors and innuendos, and the bottom line was the team didn't win.
Yep.
Didn't get in the playoffs.
Yep.
And there was plenty of chances. So yeah, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised that Tree left and then that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what confuses you a bit.
Yes.
Not often a GM leaves a job. It's usually, the person's let go of a job. And in this particular circumstance, he left the job and then the coach is let go.
Yeah. It's too bad because it's almost robbing us a little bit of the conversation about who the next coach should be, because you don't know who the GM is, right?
Yeah.
And one needs to be before the other.
Yeah. And the GM definitely has to hire the coach.
Yeah.
The GM runs the team. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious, though, one of the names that I have thrown out there is somebody that you'll be familiar with. And I'm ahead of myself because there is no GM in place. Would you interview Carla McLeod, considering the work she's done with Chechia the last couple of years and how much of that has been done publicly, that people have had an insight into how she operates?
Yeah, I think there's probably room for her in the organization, whether it be the head coach position.
No, I'm just saying as part of the coaching search.
Yeah. I think she's worthy of talking within the organization for sure.
Yeah. No,
and she's a great person and and just knows the game too.
Yeah. This offseason can't end quick enough, can it?
No, you just sort of you want them to just name a GM. Everybody does, right? We're all the same. But they've got to be thorough on it. But you've got the draft coming up, and I don't know enough of the internal workings of what scouts are still under contract, how that has gone, and
I think the staff's in place until June 30th, so they get you to the draft, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to think that you're in a position at least to do that part.
Yeah, but who's gonna fight for a player that they really want if you're not going to be there.
Right.
It's like the guy recruiting for university. Yeah, come to my university, and you sign on the dotted line to go to that university. He goes, well, I'm leaving.
Yep.
So I think that that plays part of it, because that's a big part of the drafting process too. There's the analytic part, but there's the part where guys go, I know this kid. I've seen this kid, watched him grow up. We need to draft him. Whether be the first round or the 8th round, doesn't matter.
Well,
if you don't have that, then you're just sort of going on. Well, here's the analytics, and we've seen how the analytics have worked in let's go Arizona.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I think your point's a good one, because if you're picking 16th, you know that you're going to probably be at a plateau that you're going to have exactly that conversation. Yeah. Here's 5 guys that we've identified.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? What's the position? What's the decision here? Yeah. That's true. I mean, you do need to have somebody to make that.
And then you go, hey, you know what? There's a guy that we projected as 10th who is still available at 16th. Do we want to, or maybe it's not 16th, maybe it's 13th or 14th. Should we trade down to get that guy? How do we do that? So and who's going to be responsible for that? So I think you need to, the sooner the better for me personally, but
Right.
I know they need to go through the process.
Yeah. Have you checked out any of the Wranglers playoff games?
Yeah, went down on Friday.
Okay.
Great stuff. I mean, it's fun hockey. It's really good hockey. And anybody who hasn't been to a game, if you get the chance to, they come back, I would say go to a game.
Yeah. Up against the really nice weather, though.
Yeah. But
Right?
it's sort of enjoyable to come out of a game or go into a game when it's nice and warm out and come back out and it's warm.
And it's still light out.
Still light, yeah.
Right? Like that. There's that isn't the normal way. No, it's a good team. Like it's full of kids that could play here too, right?
And that's the great thing. You're going to see, kids that, are going to journey up, and they've already played with the Flames and, hopefully get on full time with the Flames next year.
I mean, it's been a while since you were in that league or at that level. What's that like for you to see that level now?
Well, I think it's improved a lot. The Calgary didn't have an AHL team when I was down. It was the CHL, Central Hockey League, and I was pretty fortunate. We played in Colorado, so in Denver. We're the Colorado Flames. And we played in Denver. We played out of the Nichols Arena, which was that's where the Rockies played out of until their demise. And it was great. I mean, but the teams were a lot different back in the day. I mean, it was a much probably tougher, existence
I was
in those
gonna
leagues.
I was gonna say it was probably a lot more survival.
Well, yeah, and especially for college guys, it was definitely
Being tested, were you?
yeah, being tested. Yes.
Yeah, the game. I mean, the game has changed. I mean, you look at the kind of the way that fighting is evolving out. We were just kind of talking about, kind of the nuances of how you call the game. I mean, nothing bigger to me than the fact that you're from an era that there was a sign on the door that said, gambling is forbidden, signed by the commissioner of the National Hockey League, right?
Yeah.
And now
you get players promoting it.
Yeah.
And I go, let's start with the Edmonton one. You've got McDavid and Gretzky. And I think former players can do whatever they want. They should do whatever they want. Current players, I go, that's just a bad vibe for me, and maybe that's because of what you heard in the past about all the different other sports, and you hope it doesn't happen in hockey. Where guys are betting on their own teams, and I mean, I don't know how you patrol that now, but when I look at Gretzky and McDavid doing those commercials, I think they're pretty funny. I enjoy them, because I think they have a good chemistry there, but I don't think McDavid should be doing them. On the other one, you've got Matthews in Toronto doing it, and I go, he's doing a gambling one second, and then the next commercial is him with a banking commercial telling you to save your money. And I'm like, what, do you save your money to gamble it away, or do you gamble it to get money to put in the bank? I don't know.
Right.
And that you get that mixed messages, but I truly don't, I'm not a big believer in guys, representing gambling while they're playing, because you look at both of them just lost. So
yeah. Well, it's not without its challenges. I mean, I think it's probably, I don't know if safe is the right word, because I think we could have a whole other conversation. It's probably not fraught with the egalities that's not even a word, but we were brought up with it being a vice.
Yeah.
It was a vice, and you don't do it, and it's no call for it. And, this is the whole Pete Rose scandal.
Yeah.
Pete Rose is not a scandal at all if he's playing today. And I'm not sure where I fit on that, but I do know it has been a absolute financial boon to professional sports around the world.
Oh,
right.
It's
come in and saved, you know what I mean?
It's driving sports.
It is driving. Yeah. And I'm not sure that's healthy either.
No,
right.
I remember in junior B hockey, we played against this team, St. Mike's, and they always had a big crowd. And they always had a big 50-50. So the boys, we're playing them. We go, why don't we all pool our money and we'll buy these 50-50 tickets? So we had this one guy, John Dixon, goes, okay, I'll go buy them. And so he buys them. And so we're getting shellacked like 8-1, and they announce a 50-50 draw, right? So were on the bench, and he
Checking the 50-50?
he's checking the 50. He's got them in his gloves, right? So he pulls it out. He goes, yeah. So our whole bench is like, yeah. And then he goes, oh no, our group tickets are in my other glove. Those were mine.
Oh, yeah. I gotcha. So they didn't have you got to pick it up in the next 10 minutes sort of thing who went and collected it?
He went to the penalty box, gave the guy, because the penalty box is right beside the bench. He's right there, and, guy goes, okay.
So you guys won the 50-50?
He won the 50-50. Yeah.
So that didn't resonate with you at all? Like that it was the
like,
wrong...
we were always questioning him. He did buy me a large grape soda.
Well, that was
if
nice
that's any better.
How much did he win, by the way?
I think he won like $300.
During a game?
Yeah.
Playing the 50-50?
Yeah. That was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you guys didn't get sanctioned by the league or anything like
I
that?
thought we were. I don't know if anything happened after that with the league saying, well, the players can't buy them or whatever. But, even that you felt funny about. But it was even funnier because we were getting shellacked and we all jump up on the bench.
And I'm the Nation Network has gambling partners, and, Sportsnet and CBC all have. The NHL has gambling partners. I am fascinated by what we've seen happen in the UK, that they've self-regulated, that they've taken the advertising down, that it's a vice. Again, it comes back to, and vices are vices because they can cause problems. And the one thing you've seen here is they do get you over the, if you need help, that sort of thing. But it's a fascinating. I can't believe it's happened so quickly. It's 5 years since the law was changed in the United States.
Wow.
The anniversary was last week. 5 years since it became legal for sports gambling, and then the mobile and the technology and everything. And the world changes at a rapid pace, does it not?
It does.
Sometimes for the good,
sometimes
not for the bad. Okay, so I guess we got 5 teams left.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite now?
I don't have a favorite. Any team that could win from here on in, I'm happy with. I think, when you look at Florida, I think they're on quite a roll.
Mm-hmm.
For what you expected, real underdog. I mean, Seattle, the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You could say Vegas was, a bit of an underdog, but that would probably after the first 3 games you might have said that.
Yeah.
In traditional, looking at the standings, they were the favorite. If Seattle would be it would be unbelievable if they won, or Vegas won. I mean, as we talked about those expansion teams within the last 6 years, that's pretty impressive.
My head tells me it's Florida right now, considering the caliber of teams that they have defeated. Yeah. Vegas, Jack Eichel is now beginning to play like the second best player in that draft, right?
And it was impressive to watch him last night, actually. And it's the first time I've really seen him back check.
Yeah.
With a purpose.
Yep.
And I saw that. And then after the game, they interviewed him, and he was really good. He was all about the team.
Yeah.
Which I don't get to see him play a lot, but the times I've seen him, it's been more individual. So, him buying into that team game and being a big part of it and playing like he did, that bodes well for Vegas.
Yeah. And 3 of those districts, if I have this correctly, no taxes. Huh.
Yeah.
Right? Florida, Texas, and Nevada.
Yeah.
So you've got as a player, a little bit of your load is lightened. Like, you don't have to worry about so much.
Oh.
Right? Coming to the rink's just a little bit easier than it is in other places.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I go, they're selling features for every place. And, the fact that, 2 of those places have, are tax-free, or, the 3 of them, as you said. I look at Vegas and I go, expansion team, 6 years ago, I go, yeah. But as you talked about, they've been in the final 4 times, but they've done a good job of, building it from the start. As I said, they got away and were chasing shiny objects, but sort of got back to it again.
Yeah.
Which is smart. And, Dallas has always been a really good organization.
It has, yes.
And I mean, then, you luck out in I shouldn't say luck out, but you get a draft where I think they got, Robertson, they got Ottinger, and
even this last draft, they picked up players.
Wyatt Johnson is he's good, and Marchment and that, and I love that. So they've built it. I mean, Florida's one of those teams where you go, boy, it'd be great because it's gonna bolster hockey. Once again, and
will it?
Well, I think that more people will get interested in it. I'm not sure about Carolina, but I think you have when you can boast that you've had in Florida, the state of Florida, 4 winners, or if they do win the cup, it's 3 or 4 or 4 or 5, whatever it is.
But to me, Carolina is interesting because I think when they win, they're good. Yeah. Like they're a good market.
Yeah.
But if they lose, nobody's got time for that, right?
Well, that's a lot of the. There's a bunch of markets like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because Carolina is really in a competitive market. Not only with other professional sports, but with college sports.
Yep.
They're huge into college sports.
Yep.
So, you're right. I mean, when you're not playing well, but that should force you to put a better team on the ice.
The other part about the Panthers, they don't catch a break because the Heat have moved on to the conference finals in the NBA. Yeah. So, you don't get the you don't get the marketplace to yourself, right? Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting.
Okay.
So,
I don't know. I can be torn in a million different directions. I just still think Carolina are a bunch of killers. Yeah. I think they're just unrepenting. Their defense is really good. Yeah. They're getting good production from guys that were secondary guys that are now primary guys, right? Yeah. And their coach isn't bad.
Yeah, he's a good. You know what I mean? Good on them, right? Yeah.
Oh, sure.
You love that. I go every team that, as I said, it's every team that's still involved. There's a reason you like them, right? Yeah. There's no reason to dislike them.
No. Yeah. No. Absolutely not. All right. So the Masters Golf Tournament for the Alumni is next Thursday, a week Thursday. Anything else you've got on the go?
Well, you can still buy bundles of firewood.
You can?
Yeah. Okay. You go up to smokinggoodwood.ca, and you can click on. There'll be a link for Breaking Free Foundation, and you can click on that and order your wood. And if you order 10 bundles or more, you get delivery for free. So if anybody needs firewood, and I know fire bans are on right now, but hopefully those will come off and the fires are controlled, and everybody's back to safety. But if you need firewood, please go on there. smokinggoodwood.ca.
That is awesome. Yeah. Thanks, dude. This was fun.
Thanks. No, that was
Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
All right, buddy. We'll get you back soon.
Okay.
Colin Patterson, everybody. Flames alumni.